There's a type of grief that's incredibly painful, but it often doesn't have a name. It's this unseen wound, a kind of trauma that just hangs in the air, full of uncertainty. Today, we're going to talk about what that is. We're diving into ambiguous loss. This quote really gets right to the heart of it. Think about that for a second. It's a trauma where you don't get any answers, the uncertainty just goes on, and because of that, the grief, it never really ends. You're just stuck.
So what exactly is ambiguous loss? Let's break it down and get a proper definition.
Okay, so it's this really specific kind of trauma, and it's all about a painful contradiction. On one hand, you have someone who is physically gone. Maybe they're missing, but they are completely, overwhelmingly present in your mind and heart. Or it can be the total opposite. The person is physically right there with you, but a condition like dementia has taken their mind away. They're gone, but not gone.
And that's really the core of the human experience here, beyond the clinical term. It's this feeling of being frozen in time. You can't grieve properly because there's no funeral, no final goodbye. There is simply no closure. How do you move forward from that?
Now, this concept, it isn't just an abstract theory from a textbook. We're going to look at how it became a sudden, widespread, and very acute reality for an entire nation. On that day, the ground just fell out from under so many people. It created this massive crisis where countless families were suddenly thrown into this exact state of limbo, of unresolved loss, all at once. And the scale of this, it's just staggering. We're not talking about a few isolated cases. This one number represents hundreds of families, hundreds of stories, all plunged into that same fog of uncertainty at the very same time. So, what do? When you're facing a crisis this deep and this widespread, how does a community even begin to respond to something so complicated? Well, an organization called WellAl was created to do exactly that. They stepped up to answer the call with a very specific, very focused mission: tackle the crisis of ambiguous loss head-on. And their mission is really comprehensive. It's got 3 key parts. First, get this knowledge into the hands of professionals. Second, get the word out to the public so people can put a name to what they're feeling. And third, make sure this understanding actually changes how therapy is practiced on the ground. Okay, so that's the big picture mission, but how do they actually make it happen? Let's take a look at their specific approach. The whole thing is built on what they call the WellAl model. It's an acronym for a 4-step process. First, you witness the pain. You just acknowledge it. Then you emphasize that this is a unique kind of loss. It's not like anything else. Third, you listen, really listen, and create a space for stories that haven't been heard. And finally, you lead. You help guide people toward building resilience, even when the uncertainty remains. So they take that WellAl philosophy and put it into practice in 3 main ways. They do specialized training, they launch public awareness campaigns, and they contribute to research so that the professional community keeps getting smarter about this. And this, right here, is what's so brilliant. Look who they're training. It's not just therapists, it's teachers, lawyers, community leaders, people on the front lines. They are weaving this understanding into the very fabric of society so that no matter who you turn to for help, they get it. So let's zoom out for a second, because this work, which is so focused on individuals and families, actually has a massive impact on a national level. You see, the stakes here are incredibly high, because if you don't address this kind of trauma, it doesn't just fade away. It acts like a silent poison, spreading through families, weakening communities, and undermining the very systems that are supposed to support people. And this really just lays out the 2 different paths so clearly. On the one hand, if you leave this loss unaddressed, it silently corrodes everything. But if you face it head-on, you build a smarter response, you strengthen the community, and you actually create a path toward real collective healing. And that, right there, is the ultimate goal. This isn't just about managing pain. It's about something much bigger. It's about transforming that messy, unresolved grief into a source of incredible resilience and even national strength. So we'll leave you with this question to think about. By giving a name to this unseen wound and by creating a real method to treat it, this work makes you wonder. What happens when a whole society learns how to heal, not just from its clear-cut tragedies, but from its deepest, most lingering uncertainties?